Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA Podcast, Thursday edition. Once again, the weekend preview is upon us, but it is not just a weekend for the UFC. No. It actually kind of belongs to Bellator, with two of the biggest fights that Bellator can put on one single card. If you didn't know about it, well, now you know.
True.
Now, Dominic, before we just hop right in, I want to ask you, the weather, it's starting to heat up just a little bit. It's been very rainy over here in Indiana. However, today we're reaching highs of 74 degrees.
Ooh.
Old ladies at work are turning the fucking thermostat up to 74. I'm like, what the hell's going on here, guys?
That ain't
So
a
what's
good
the big
combo.
idea? Oh, dude, I was sweating bad at work today. I had a hoodie on. It was not good. How are things back in Ohio?
They are trying to approach those 70s, but the April showers are very much upon us. I'm trying to go golf, and I can't because the course is soaking wet. There's mud. I'll get the golf cart stuck if I go try, Noah. So I'm hoping that the sunshine is going to come in sooner rather than later. But today, on this Wednesday that we record, it's rainy. Tomorrow, on Thursday, when you're hearing this, it's rainy. Maybe the weekend will be nice. But then I'll be stuck inside watching fights, so oh well.
Did you watch the Masters, perhaps? I know since you're such a big golfer nowadays.
I caught a few things here and there. I couldn't help but just marvel at Scotty Scheffler's amazing -10 performance. And it was, it was hard to watch Tiger kind of fall apart the last 2 days, but to just go out there after what's happened the last year and compete, respect there. So, yeah, I didn't get to watch like start to finish, but I watched bits and pieces. And one day, I'm just kidding, I'll never be that good. But, a guy can dream.
Have you gotten better? We haven't.
I have gotten better. I have improved.
We haven't played together in a couple of years. I just stopped playing altogether. I gave up. I said, why spend the money on something I'm never going to be good at? But
that kind of does hit home there. Hey, it's the one shot that brings me back every time. No, all my other shots can go right into the trees, but it's the one shot, baby. Woo.
Sounds like a quote from a movie or something. You should sell that. Anyways,
Trademark pending.
Bellator 277. Oh, wait, first, before we get into it, Dominic, I want to give you a second to tell everyone where they can find us on social media. Y'all thought I was going to forget again, but nope.
Hey, he's on one right now. This is 2 or 3 in a row. We're catching on. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram at dslee14. More importantly, go follow us, go engage with us, go interact with us and the podcast on Twitter, on Instagram at BAJ_MMA podcast.
Twitter, Instagram at ntbaker_. Linktree in the bio has a bunch of links, including links for today's sponsor, Anchor. Shout out to them.
Shout out. Yes.
Bellator 277, Dominic, going down this Friday, so it does have the day to itself. We will see it run back this fight once again about 8 months from when the first took place, but the roles have reversed this time. Now it is AJ McKee, the undefeated phenom who has fought, I believe, every professional fight in his career for Bellator.
Yes.
He is now the champion. And with that -350 favorite, taking on perhaps the best fighter in Bellator history, at least the most accomplished maybe, Patricio Pitbull at +270. So Dominic, the first fight was a big deal. Dare I say it was a great finish, but the fight was pretty quick. I mean, it was about 3 minutes. I don't even know if either guy really even threw much of a combination before.
Right. The finish happened very suddenly.
Basically, the first thing thrown is what ended the fight. So my question for you, now that we've had some time to let that first result kind of marinate, do you see this second fight going a little bit longer? And even if not, like, is it pretty much a given that AJ McKee's going to win this fight, or is Patricio Pitbull still deadly as one of the most accomplished of all time?
Pitbull's definitely still deadly. He's got the power. He's got that well-rounded skill set, but I just believe that AJ McKee is that next wave, that next generation of fighter. And yes, he's had all 18 fights in Bellator. He's been molded by that company, but he's coming into his all right now. Again, it was basically flawless in that first fight, but not much happened. But the finishing sequence was so quick, so vicious. You know, it looked like he was going to knock him out. Pitbull looked like he was almost knocked out on the feet. Then he ended up submitting him on the feet. So it was just everything was there for McKee that night. I think McKee does get it done again. Maybe the fight goes a little bit longer. I still foresee a finish. I think with these two guys squared up, there's going to be a finish on either side. But AJ McKee just seems like the real deal right now, man. He does.
Yeah, for me, I tend to kind of agree with what you're saying. You know, I was very much a believer in AJ McKee the first time around. Obviously, I kind of think the same thing here, but very much to me. I don't think Patricio Pitbull's gotten worse. So the test here is still the same. For Patricio Pitbull to win, though, the problem is that he's going up against a guy who's much faster than him, much lankier, taller, better reach than him. And because of that, you know, that puts him at a bit of a disadvantage, obviously.
Yeah.
So things that he has to be ready for. AJ McKee has less experience than Patricio, so because of that, you would assume Patricio might have a higher fight IQ. So you got to look for his mistakes. I mean, Patricio Pitbull just needs to get this fight into the later rounds.
Yeah.
Really test AJ McKee in those championship rounds. If he makes a mistake, you have to capitalize on that, because how many opportunities are you going to get? You know, AJ McKee don't make many mistakes.
No.
And you know, in that first fight, it was kind of an odd. It was an odd fight because obviously the finish was awesome, but for 3 minutes, those two really didn't do anything. They were very patient. Maybe that's what I should say.
Yes.
And, you know, not that neither guy is capable of doing so, but we kind of expected more aggression early, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially from the champion Pitbull. And he just was very timid. I would have hoped that he could, you know, whether it be because he wants his title back, wants to get that loss back, whatever it might be, could be more motivated and, you know, more aggressive early.
Yeah, I do wonder if that will be a part of his attack in this second one for Pitbull. But at the same time, you know, say he does go in really aggressive, McKee just seems like the type of guy that can counter so swiftly and so quickly too. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I'm not so much interested in how McKee will approach this. All eyes to me are on Pitbull and how he's going to go about this and try and win his title back, and then potentially line up again for a trilogy if he were to win this one.
Very true, and there's a lot at stake for him here just because he doesn't come off as a guy ready to call it quits in his career. But with the loss here, he handed over his lightweight title. Yeah. And with the loss here, you'd be hard-pressed to get him a third shot anytime soon because you kind of assume A.J. McKee might be top of that division for a long time. You know, it's like, where does he go from there? Especially if he gets finished again. You know, it's not like, you know, a Volkanovski Holloway 2 where you lose a very close decision that a lot of people think you won. So maybe that warrants a third fight. But if he gets finished again, I mean, it's going to be he's going to have some long nights thinking about that for a while.
Yeah, should McKee win this one, it's going to actually feel like that passing of the torch moment where this old wave of Bellator is on its way out and the new wave in McKee is here to stay for a while. So.
To be honest with you, I kind of feel like that already happened. I know. Obviously, Pitbull is so talented, so good that he's very capable of winning this fight and potentially kind of saying, no, that wasn't a passing of the torch. That was just a slip up. It's still my time.
Yeah.
The co-main event, which is arguably the second biggest fight Bellator can put on right now, which is very crazy that this card is so stacked.
And
the finals,
I don't know about
the finals of the light heavyweight Grand Prix. Champion Vadim Nemkov will be taking on Corey Anderson, the number one contender. Both guys have had interesting paths to get here. Vadim Nemkov coming off a win over Julius Anglickas. That was not who he was supposed to fight in the semifinals. I believe it was supposed to be Rumble Johnson.
Yep.
So, you know, and I think before that, Nemkov fought Ryan Bader and got a decision win there. And that was the second time he had beat Ryan Bader. While Corey Anderson, I know he started his Bellator career fighting like Melvin Manhoff, who's a dangerous striker, but a guy very past his prime. I believe in the light heavyweight Grand Prix, he fought Dovletsan Hamshimuradov. Was that his first round matchup?
I believe so.
Won that fight, even though Dovletsan kind of he was more game than I think people were expecting. But Corey Anderson showing how good he was and why he was so highly touted to begin with. And then who did Corey Anderson beat in the semifinals? It was he knocked out he knocked out Ryan.
It was Bader, yeah, Bader.
So who did Vadim Nemkov beat? Vadim Nemkov might have beat Lyoto Machida, perhaps.
All in the first round?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even remember. I feel like this Grand Prix started 6 years ago.
I know. I want to say we should have this in front of us, but I want to say it's Lyoto Machida, but who knows? But basically, Dominic, I'm going to ask you straight up here. Is this fight to determine the number one light heavyweight in the world?
Oh, I can't say that. I know Scott Coker's big on that idea.
Corey Anderson beat Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, we know how MMA math is, Noah. I'm not one to say anything about that. And I think there's still plenty of talent in the UFC's light heavyweight division that isn't the champion that could be better than Anderson for sure. Nemkov, I will say, is a guy that intrigues me a lot. Should he win here, that's a legitimate argument in my opinion. I really like this guy for.
So you would give Nemkov the argument, but the guy who has a win over the UFC champion, you say no dice.
Yes, that may be odd. I just believe that Nemkov's all-around skill set is better than Corey Anderson. That's why I'm curious to see how he'll approach this one, because Nemkov's such a world-class kickboxer, but he's very high IQ. With Corey, I don't think you want to stand on the feet here with Nemkov. So if he can grapple en route to his victory, obviously it would be a very big moment to see Corey Anderson get that title. Because he always was there in the UFC, but never able to reach the epitome of that division. So it would be a feel-good moment. I think if Nemkov wins, there's a legitimate talk here for best light heavyweight in the world.
I think the winner of this fight may be, right now, the best light heavyweight in the world. Now, if you had Yuri Prohaska fight either one of these guys, I'd probably pick Yuri to win. And maybe even Alexander Rakic. Or
Yuri beat Nemkov back in Ryzen.
Right. So I would say that I would favor probably one of those two guys to be over, to end up being the number one pound for pound. But number one has to be based off achievement, not just, how I value your skill set. I said I thought Peter Yan was the number one talented fighter in the whole roster, but there's a reason he's not number one pound for pound. He just lost. He's not even a title holder anymore. So here, Vadim Nemkov is very interesting because he's the lesser known of these two for us, obviously. We followed Corey Anderson's career. We've seen the highs and lows, and I think that's why you tend to kind of go away from Corey Anderson, because Vadim Nemkov has basically been perfect. It's not necessarily been I wouldn't say it's necessarily been dominant at all times, but it's been very efficient. He's always been very efficient. He's a very talented striker, but also has a ground game to back that up as well, to make himself just so good everywhere. He doesn't really have a big weak spot that we know of right now. While Corey Anderson, we've seen him be slept by Jan Blachowicz. We've seen him at his weaker points because he basically won the Ultimate Fighter, was molded in the UFC, was fighting on a lot of big cards. But, Dominic, I will say, I think he's shown some new wrinkles to his game since going to Bellator. He's been more competent on the feet than he has been previously. He knocked out Ryan Bader. I agree with you. I don't think striking is his path to victory here. And I think he would agree with you because during the press conference, I believe this happened Tuesday, he spoke with the guys from the Weighing In podcast, Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, and he said, I'm going to wrestle him. He's like, I might not get him down the first time, might not get him down the second time, but I'll get him down the third time. Basically saying, I'll keep trying till I get it. Now, that can be dangerous if you really think about it, because if you get a little carried away with those shoots, you could eat a big knee, uppercut, something crazy. Ask Curtis Blades about getting hit with the nasty uppercut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all in all, when it comes down to this fight, Corey Anderson's the guy that I know more about, but yet knowing more about him makes me trust him less than Vadim Nemkov. I think Vadim Nemkov almost does. He has this clout of there's some mystique still to Vadim Nemkov. Like we still don't feel like we've tapped into how good this guy can get. Corey Anderson's fighting at the highest level right now, but how much higher can he really get? You know, that's kind of my feeling toward this fight. So it's a worthy final for this kind of messy light heavyweight Grand Prix that, you know, had so much promise to begin with, but the Rumble Johnson, Yoel Romero stuff kind of took it off the rails. But I think it's a worthy final. I think it is the two best guys on this roster.
Yes.
And I will go as far to say that, especially if the winner of this fight does it in a statement fashion, I'm willing to say that for the first time maybe in Bellator's history, they will have a number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world for a division.
I like it, Noah.
Yeah. Anything else on that fight before we move on to the UFC?
That's all I got.
All right. We are going back to the Apex, Dominic. UFC Fight Night. Vicente Luque versus Belal Muhammad Dos. First time they fought, Vicente Luque got a TKO victory, I believe. That fight happened. Wasn't that on a pretty big card?
Ooh, I wish I remembered the specific card.
No,
it's been a while, too.
Yeah, it may not have been. For some reason, I thought it might have happened on a big card. But obviously, the fight happened, I think, in like 2017. It's been a good 4 or 5 years since these two have met. And at that time, both were on the climb up. I think maybe not necessarily at that fight, but around 2018 is when I became aware of both these guys. And Vicente Luque, this is what I was hoped would be in his future. I didn't know defensively if he would quite hold up, you know, through some of the fights, through the top 15, top 10, top 5. But he's made it here. He's on a very nice win streak. He's had, you know, the win over Michael Chiesa, Tyron Woodley, both of those kind of having to battle through some early jitters and get that submission victory. Belal Muhammad's the one I didn't expect, Dominic. I really didn't. You know, I've said time and time again on this show that I feel like he's the guy that's kind of good everywhere but not really great anywhere. And while I stand by that at a time, I think he's shown his wrestling is much better than I gave him credit for. And also, I just think that through development, through training, through activity, he's gotten better over time. I mean, he's not the same guy who was losing to Vicente Luque that first time out. He is a much more well-rounded fighter at this point, a dangerous wrestler. However, it's an interesting matchup because you got one guy who's all action and one guy who tends to love going through long, drawn-out decisions.
Yes.
So, Dominic, when you evaluate this fight, it's easy to kind of knee-jerk and be all on Luque's side because, you know, he's the exciting fighter here. But how conflicted are you in, you know, perhaps who's going to get this victory and by what kind of method?
I think we're talking one-way street for whoever the winner is in this one, if I'm being honest. I see, you know, if Luque can come out, I mean, this guy's won 10 of 11, 4 in a row via finish. The dude doesn't even know what a decision is, hardly. But Belal Muhammad, he sure the hell knows what a decision is, and he can go to the deep waters and drag his opponents there, man, with his grappling and wrestling. His pace, his pressure is very good as well. I don't know, like, if he wants to be the aggressor and obviously push Luque back up toward the fence, set up the takedowns. That could be dangerous, man, coming in on Luque with so much power. Luque's obviously great at jiu-jitsu, underrated, I will say, at jiu-jitsu, but the way that Muhammad controls people from the top, I don't even know if Luque could pull off and get into positions to even attempt a submission attempt. So, yeah, this is a very, like, to me, this feels like a pickup fight. And I know we're not on the betting show, and we will be on Friday. Tune in for that. But this is a very 50-50 fight to me. I don't know who's going to win it. I don't know how they're going to win it. But I will say, and I'm going to stick with it, one-way street for whoever that may be. So I see potentially a decisive finish from Luque or a decisive decision from Muhammad.
I think Vicente Luque has more routes to victory here. I think he's overall the more well-rounded fighter. He's a better striker, a really good striker.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Has a great ground game. Yes, he might not be the wrestler of Belal Muhammad, but I think you might be underestimating his jiu-jitsu capabilities if he were to be on his back, or not even on his back, just if they are kind of wrestling for positions, if Bilal's trying to put him up against the fence and drag him down, that leaves your head exposed sometimes. And you've already seen back-to-back wins for Vicente Luque with, were they both Anaconda chokes or Bravo chokes? Or
Yeah, like Darce kind of.
like
yeah.
Yeah, so back-to-back finishes in that way against great wrestlers, Tyron Woodley, Michael Chiesa, both guys who I may say are better wrestlers than Belal Muhammad. Now, don't get me wrong, Belal Muhammad's a very smart fighter. That's why, even though he's got so many decisions, he's on the good side of a lot of those. I mean, he's gone the distance time and time again. It's a close fight, and I think the odds represent that. But I do tend to think that Vicente Luque should win this fight, but I think it kind of comes down to how defensively sound he is. Does he get overzealous being his first main event, looking to put on a show? Does he get caught in double legs time and time again, shooting, rushing in? That's kind of where I feel like it's Vicente Luque's fight to lose, personally.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you this question, because here's how the welterweight division kind of stacks up right now. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards 2. That's happening in July, we presume. And now it looks like Khamzat Chimaev and Colby Covington may happen sometime in the future. What are the chances, 0 through 100, what are the percent chances, in your opinion, that this could be like a number one contender fight?
Oh, man. See, a year ago, I would have said 100% because Kamaru showed a lot of interest in fighting guys that were fresh matchups for him. Nowadays, he's kind of just fighting whomever may come across him. This is going to be like his third or fourth set of rematches when he fights Leon Edwards in July. Obviously, their first fight wasn't for the title, but you get the gist. It's so hard to say because of the Colby and Chimaev matchup, because that to me feels more like a number one contender fight, especially like should Chimaev win, like I would give Chimaev the title fight over Luque and Muhammad, which is crazy because these guys have really been through the ringer, and Luque's on a huge win streak too right now. But if Colby beats Chimaev, then it's like I wouldn't give Colby.
Let me help you out here, because in my head, and let's talk this through together, because I'm not sure what the timetable is for Khamzat Colby, but I presume that fight's not happening till like the fall.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then is Kamaru just going to sit around, or is he going to, like, I feel like they're not on Khamzat Colby's fight. I don't feel like is on the same schedule as Kamaru with his title defenses, because I could see him defending here against Leon, and then he'll be ready to go come first of the year type deal.
Yeah. Yeah, if the UFC does
and then
commit,
if Leon wins, obviously he would probably want to defend
yeah,
before the end of the year as well.
That'll just be a trilogy, though. I'd say if Leon wins.
Okay, yes, you're right. You're right.
You know what? Because I want to see Luque fight for. Oh, fuck, but he might not win the fight. But then Muhammad's on a win streak too.
Well, you can give me chances for either guy.
I'm just saying.
I would tend to believe. You're just saying.
I'm gonna go 0.
Okay, well, all right. Don't play my little game then. Vicente Luque, I would give if he wins about a 35% chance.
Yeah.
If Belal Muhammad wins, I would probably give him like a 7% chance.
Yeah.
No disrespect. It's just kind of how it stacks up, and I think even though Luque is not really going to sell a fight, but you can sell that fight, Luque versus Kamaru or Luque versus Edwards, because Luque is going to bring it.
Oh yeah.
Belal, it's a bit. I worry Belal may get a bit of a John Fitch treatment from Dana and the boys.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Sorry, I'm so jambled on it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just like to give you a hard time. We'll be back with a couple more fights from this card, but first, Dominic. He's back. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Per Ali Abdelaziz and Henry Cejudo himself. That's right. Henry Cejudo, Triple C, has announced that he has re-entered the USADA testing pool and therefore will be eligible to return to professional MMA within or after 6 months.
Yep.
So, Dominic, I'm going to give you another scale. I like doing these number questions, like give it, and then you can explain, you know. So, scale of 1 to 10, how serious do you take this? And then after that, you could talk about maybe what matchups you would love to see for him when he comes back if you think he's serious about it.
Oh, I take it as a 10 in terms of seriousness, especially from Cejudo, that is. The problem is Dana and the boys, I don't know, kind of Dana's had his comments and whatnot about Cejudo and his return, but now that he's officially back in the pool, that definitely could change Dana's mind and whatnot. And if he comes back, say he's ready in 6 months, I'd say Mr. Alexander Volkanovski would be ready to fight in 6 months too. Again, I don't know what Max Holloway's doing and whatnot, but if Cejudo comes back, I think it's going to be for the third belt. I think it's going to be, for the featherweight title at 145 pounds. I don't see the UFC doing anything else for him, and I don't think Henry wants anything else besides that. I see the other bullet point on here that we're going to discuss, however, but yes, Noah, a 10, all seriousness, the king of cringe. He's coming back.
I'll give it about an 8.5. I take it very serious, but I take off a 1.5 because I worry that that's his expectation. That it's like, I'm coming back, I want to show him I'm serious, but I want that fight with Volkanovski.
Yeah.
Volkanovski has a say in this too, and he has wrote off this fight like completely. His appearance on the MMA Hour, he was like, meh, like, if he fights a guy in my division and wins, then we'll talk, And Dana doesn't seem even that interested in it.
Yeah.
I don't really see who's going to make this fight happen. So I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think Henry would have to come back, win a fight in that division, and then he would get it. But do I think he would do that? No. What I think is more likely, I think a fight with Aljamain Sterling might be more realistic. And Aljamain Sterling also made an appearance today on Wednesday when we're recording on the MMA Hour, and he had a lot to say, including, and I don't know if this is just him kind of, playing a little mind games with old TJ Dillashaw, but he said he thought about it afterwards, after the fight was over, and he said he realized that TJ Dillashaw didn't really deserve a shot at his title right now.
Oh.
So, and he said he would welcome a fight with Henry Cejudo when he returns, because Aljamain said he doesn't think he'll fight till like the fall, and a lot of people didn't like that. But I get it. Guy went through a 5-round fight. Gotta let him take some time to heal, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I take it serious that he wants to come back, but it's just for what fight? Because Henry Cejudo is a decent name in the sport. For hardcore fans, he is one of the bigger names.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say he's like a star. Like, he doesn't really have that crossover appeal to like casual fans.
Right.
So, even though he's got the accomplishments, I've said it before. I think if you go off of like combat sports in general, or even if you include like wrestling, he's probably the most accomplished or one of the best ever through combat sports. But what fight would he come back to? I mean, maybe like a I don't know. Would it be like maybe a Cody Garbrandt at bantamweight? Like, that's interesting.
Dude, I don't see a world where he comes back and there's not a belt on the line.
Yeah,
like, in terms of like his
right?
interest, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it kind of feels that way. It's just like, I have a hard time believing the UFC's like, or the champion, because if it's Volkanovski, I don't really see him really pushing for it. But I think there's a better chance right now. If you had to make me guess right now, and I know this could change tomorrow, because I've flipped on this before.
Yeah,
I would say there's a higher percent chance that Cejudo returns the fight for the bantamweight title than featherweight.
Okay, I respect that. I like that.
Now,
I can see that.
Let's talk about Volkanovski for a second.
Yeah.
On the same MMA Hour appearance, he's like, he's asking him what fight he wants next. He's like, well, he doesn't really say Holloway, but he's like, I know there's a fight out there that everybody wants to see. So he seems down to do that fight, which, we've been expecting that fight to happen for a while now, and it just hasn't. But then he mentioned how interested he is in the main event of UFC 274, which is for the lightweight title, Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. How serious do you take Volk's interest in this title and the idea that maybe Volk could go up to lightweight and have a champ type fight?
Oh, I think he's dead serious, and I think he's reached that point where let's start looking at these.
It's appropriate.
Let's move up. Right. He's defended the belt 3 times, 3 different opponents. He beat Max Holloway twice. I know the UFC and us and the fans want to see that fight a 3rd time, but I could see potentially him going up to 155. There's so much going on up there. I want that division to just play out, much like I want 135 to play out. So for my sanity and fandom, I'd prefer Volk to stay down at 145, at least for one more. Let it clear up just a little bit up there because it's still pretty cloudy. But yes, I think he is very interested. I think he's deserving of that money fight. But if that money fight, quote unquote, doesn't come at 155, I do think Cejudo's his next best bet.
You're right. If he doesn't go to lightweight, you got to think that fight with Cejudo might be the next best thing. Well, obviously the Holloway fight should be first, but I'm gonna throw out a fight here. If he's serious about going to lightweight, and when he said this, he talked about being interested in the title fight, but he didn't exactly say like if he said if his division doesn't work itself out, he would welcome fighting any of the contenders at lightweight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, him versus Dustin Poirier makes a lot of sense to me.
Dustin
it's a fight out of left field, but Dana said they're looking at something else for Dustin Poirier. Well, how about the featherweight champion of the world? How does that not? I mean, I know it's not like, Volkanovski not necessarily a champion that sells super well, but for Dustin Poirier, if he's not getting the Nate Diaz fight, what fight's really going to get him out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
What fight's going to motivate him to really get in there? I don't know if this fight would, but having a chance to beat a champion of a weight class, I mean, that's got to say something for your legacy. A legacy that's already outside of holding the full belt, just perfect, basically.
Yes.
I would welcome a Dustin Poirier, Alexander Volkanovski fight. As crazy as it would be to watch those two match up, because, Dustin Poirier is big at lightweight.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier is fucking that. I didn't know that he said that about contenders. So
well, I think he said that was more like the post fight. Like he kind of just said, if my division can't work itself out, I'll go to 155.
Yeah,
and he said mix it up with those guys.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's a big fight for Volk too. If he is wanting like the payday type fights, I think you have the 155 championship. You have Cejudo. You have Dustin Poirier. If you're wanting money fights, those are probably the top 3 in that order that he would receive payday-wise. I like that. That is out of left field, Noah, but I like it.
I pulled a little chail on you. I wanted to get a little out of left field.
Yeah.
I've been sleeping on that one. That's why I was so excited to talk about this today.
That is
fight out there.
That's interesting.
But let's be honest, the fight with Max Holloway is what should be next.
That is what should be next, yes, 100%. But
now we do have one fight announcement to talk about, and that's in the flyweight division. Askarov, he's going to be pretty pissed off, looking to get back on track.
Yeah.
He's going to be fighting Alex Perez, a guy who we haven't seen in a long time. He's been lined up with Matt Schnell about 10 times.
Yeah.
Not one of those has went through. Still ranked in the top 5 of this division, Dom. So you got number 3 versus number 5. How important is this one for these guys?
This is big, especially for Perez, man. Like, is this fight even going to happen? I know he's just been having some bad luck, so I worry that we get to see this fight. But it is a big fight for the division should it get to July 16th and it happens. So for Askar, he's looking to bounce back. He had his first pro loss against Kaikar France in Columbus. And for Alex Perez, still like a super well-rounded, gritty, tough guy. And he got all the way to the title. He was the first Contender Series alum to get to a title shot. And he got smoked by Figueiredo, but that's at a time when Davison was running through everybody, Noah. So I still believe in Perez, But this layoff, man, that hurts it a little bit in the fans' eyes, you know?
Was that the last time he fought?
He has not fought since Figueiredo. December of 2020.
I mean, he's been booked.
Yes, like all of 2021, he was booked, but never got the fight.
Man, that fight with Matt Schnell is just crazy how that just took so many turns. Yeah, I think it is pretty big for both guys because you're right. I mean, Alex Perez, he kind of snuck up on everybody and got that title shot. It was supposed to be Cody Garbrandt.
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt having the effects of COVID. He steps in. Didn't show much. It was a really quick fight. Davison got a really quick guillotine. Kind of came out of nowhere, just slipped it real quick. But Alex Perez, he's had some under-the-radar performances. Like now everybody is aware of Alexandre Pantoja. Alex Perez finished him with leg kicks.
Yeah. Perez is good,
he's
man.
Good, yeah. But Askarov, we know how good he is. He is the gold standard for wrestling in this division. And dare I say, he might be coming back with a vengeance, Dominic, because he is probably not happy that the people of Columbus booed him.
Yes.
And he went out there, probably thought he won the fight against Kai Car France. Friend of the show, by the way. Shout out to Kai. And,
True.
I think Askarov may be back with a vengeance.
Yeah, it could very well happen. He's still a legitimate title threat, I think. Both guys, actually, I think.
Yeah. That fight's happening July 16th, by the way, so around the time that maybe that fourth fight with Davis and Marino happens. So the winner of that fight could be kind of in the mix there. Kai Car France obviously might be waiting for his shot too. Who knows?
Right.
Just a few more things that we missed before we get it back into the fights for the weekend. UFC, Dominic, we knew that they were planning to go back to the UK at some point this year. But now it's looking like it'll be in July and in Liverpool. Your thoughts?
It's awesome. That event there was one of the best UFC events that I've ever seen that they had in London. Liverpool potentially eyeing a stadium show. Potentially, I know the WWE, funny enough, is doing a stadium show in England in September. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if the UFC tries to beat them to that. But this is awesome. I think it lines up with more of your English talent because they fought in March. Give them a few months off, put them back there in July. I'd say at least a few of them from that card will be there. So I'm very excited, and I can't help but see the word Liverpool, Noah, and think, do we potentially see Paddy Pimblett's first UFC main event already? Do we?
So my question for you, and I feel like based off of you asking me that question, I know how you're going to lean here, but I was going to say, is Paddy Pimblett's fight, if he's on this card, will it be, but how should I word this? Will it be anywhere on the card except main or co-main?
100% co-main minimum, but
Really?
That's the thing. That's the thing. I can't see it being a main event if he's fighting another unranked guy. You know what I mean? I know he's huge name and whatever, but you still need a worthy quote unquote fight to headline a card. I don't care what location you're in. So minimum co-main though, I think for sure. But he might get his first UFC main event in his third bout.
So I'm going to push you and say this will be a feature bout, and here's why. I'm just going to name two fights that I think could be above him on this card. Because they're going to stack it, right? So I could see a main event of Tom Aspinall versus Taito Ivasa. Giving Tom his second main event in the UK, just really building him up. Co-main event, and maybe you flip these two, but I'm going to say no. Maybe Darren Till versus Uriah Hall.
That'd be big. That'd be a big
and then
one.
You do Paddy Pimblett as the feature bout against
whoever.
Insert debut here.
Yeah, that'd be big. That'd be big. They do need if Darren Till's going to fight this year, I think they should do it in England for sure. Does anybody know what's up with Uriah Hall? They were like talking mad shit. Is Uriah Hall booked to fight somebody, Andre Muniz or something? I don't know.
He was supposed to fight Andre Muniz, I think, last weekend.
Oh, okay.
This weekend.
Yeah.
But it's not happening. It was around these last couple weekends, or this weekend or something. But yeah, that fight fell out. Muniz.
But him and Darren are talking mad shit to each other, so I like
sure
that.
How that fight.
I forgot about Darren.
I think Uriah stands a better chance against Darren Till than he does Muniz. I can't say it. That's a tough style matchup. But yeah, I'm very excited. Obviously, they're going to really make this a big deal. All I'm saying is announce the second Ohio show, you cowards.
Yeah, if we're doing 2 in London, or 2 in England, I should say, hey, Ohio, they gave him the highest domestic fight night event in the history of the company. I'm just saying.
Part of that was our VIP.
True.
I'm just saying. Or maybe Louisville, Kentucky. That's closer to me.
Anywhere in the fucking Midwest, even, please.
Indianapolis, Indiana. Huh?
Yes, love that city. No? Nice city.
Lucas Oil Stadium.
Right?
That's probably too big for them right now. But anyways, also on here, coming from Ali Abdelaziz, he's been a busy man last couple
Always
days.
is.
Marlon Moraes has officially announced his retirement.
Yeah.
From MMA, Dominic. Any nice words you want to say for the Magic Man, Marlon Moraes?
What a fun career. I mean, quickly rose to stardom, should you say, in the bantamweight division, that is. Went all the way to the title fight. Obviously, you didn't get to reach the epitome, but damn close. And so many great fights, win or lose for Marlon. It's a shame that he had to go out in such bad terms with so many losses and whatnot, the way that they were happening. But a great career nonetheless. And I wish him all the best. I know he said he's going to keep in the fight game, be coaching, training partner, which is awesome. He's going to pass on plenty of championship level knowledge to the younger generation.
Yeah, a guy that came from the World Series of Fighting back when the PFL was still under that name. He was an absolute stud for them. I believe he won their tournament. I don't know how many times, but he was like one of their best fighters they had. He was like the Kayla Harrison of World Series of Fighting. Came to the UFC. He fought a who's who. He's got knockout wins over guys like Jimmy Rivera, Aljamain Sterling, the champion, Rafael Assunção. You just name it. He fought everybody and anybody in this division. And even when something started to slip away, he started to take that downturn in his career, he was still fighting a lot of tough fights.
Yes.
Fights that a lot of people in his spot may not have welcomed, but he did. So shout out to him. Great career. Glad to see he wants to stick around the sport as well. Lastly, Coach Teaser Gracie, as Chael called him, Teaser Gracie, because he teased that it looks like that he looks for Nick Diaz to fight by the end of the year. How serious are you taking this, Dominic? And I guess my second question you're kind of answering by your noises. Are you interested in another Nick Diaz fight?
I am, but it has to be a very, very particular type of matchup, and how many of those are available that Nick Diaz is going to be interested in. There's so many factors here. I'm going to say I'm not taking this too serious. It's very hard to get a Diaz in a fight. So
I don't see him fighting by the end of the year. Do I think he'll never fight again? I don't know. Man, it's just something's still very weird about that fight with Robbie Lawler. It was a good fight, but something about all that lead up, Nick deciding he didn't want to cut weight or whatever, and the fight being moved to another weight class, and he just looked. He was so in shape, just a couple months before the fight. Yeah. And then he comes in looking a little softer.
Mm-hmm.
Just something's weird about that. Nobody's ever really said. I don't know. I just don't feel like Nick's heart's really in it anymore.
Yes.
And I feel like he's doing it out of some necessity. I don't know if it's because he needs money or if he, if he's got people around him that want him to keep fighting, like maybe Caesar Gracie. I don't know. It just, something seems off with this situation. And I would welcome it back wholly. I'd be so excited for him to fight again, but I want him to want to fight again.
Yeah. Otherwise, it can get dangerous,
Yeah. All right, let's move on to a few more fights for the weekend. Not too much left. Bellator. Aaron Pico's back. And it is not his originally scheduled opponent. He will be taking on a debutant for Bellator, but 9-1, Adley Edwards. Your predictions for this matchup, is there anything less than a Pico smash and it's a disappointment?
That's what this matchup would say to you and say to me anyway on paper. Like you said, the debutant. And then Pico, another guy, he's got 12 pro fights. Every single one of them have been in Bellator. Molded into Bellator as a professional MMA fighter.
Had some
yes.
What do they say? Some hills and valleys. Or
yes, very. And now seems to be on his way to peaking. 5 in a row. He's a guy that finishes. He's finished 8 out of 9. He's only 25 years old, so he's still far from his prime, if you want to put it that way. But, man, he looks great right now. This should be a Pico domination. He's like a minus 900 favorite, which is, if that tells you anything. But, hey, Edwards, if he comes in and does pull off an upset in your first Bellator fight and you beat number 4, that's quite the explosion into the company. So we'll see.
I will say for Adley Edwards, I on the Weigh In podcast they mentioned this, so I just will. His wrestling, apparently he was a Division II All-American.
Okay.
Something worth noting. But obviously Aaron Pico, man, the guy's just got he's so credentialed in his boxing, his wrestling, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Aaron Pico, man, with the win here, how close is he to getting perhaps the winner of that main event?
Oh, you got to think there's a reason they had him on this card to begin with. It sucks he lost his initial opponent, who was a ranked opponent. I don't remember off the top of my head who it was.
I forget who it was.
But it was another ranked fighter. But yes, there's a reason he's on this card. I think being that he's taking on a short notice guy who's debuting, I'd say win this and get one more, and you're probably fighting for a belt.
One more than a belt?
Yeah.
I'll agree with that. Back to the UFC we go. Just 2 more fights to talk about. It's not the thickest of cards for the UFC, admittedly.
Yeah.
But we welcome back one of our favorite prospects to watch, Miguel Baeza.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gone through a little bit of a rut. He's lost his last 2 fights. Now he's here against Andre Fiallo, who's 0-1 in the UFC. Your expectations for this
one? It's interesting because Fiallo is 14-4. You know, he's had a good run, but obviously he lost his debut. Miguel Baeza, though, came onto the UFC like a bat out of hell. Won on the Contender Series, got 3 straight finishes, but now he's looked human. You know, these past 2 fights, he got knocked out in the last one in a hell of a fight with Chaos Williams, granted, but got finished in the third. So he's still so young, and I do still believe in his potential. I think he is a threat. He just needs a big bounce back performance. He does have a good fight IQ. I'd say he's going to need that again here. I think Fiallo is a pretty aggressive guy too. This could be a huge win for him as well, because if you start your career 0-2 in the company, that's always not the best. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to necessarily play out, but I would lean Baeza, and I will discuss that in the betting show tomorrow as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm leaning Baeza, and again, I'll talk about this on the betting show as far as picks, but I like Baeza a lot. The guy is very smooth at what he does. He's very technical fighter. Got very good striking, but also a very good ground game. I will say, for Fiallo's credit, he was very durable in his fight with what was that guy's? Who's that? The guy who does like backflips and shit.
It was Michel Pereira. Yeah, he lost a decision.
He fought Michel Pereira. He was short notice, and he took a ton of shots. And Michel Pereira is huge for that weight class, and Fiallo is a big guy for this weight class too. So that's the thing. I think Fiallo is going to carry a little bit more power.
Yeah,
which is interesting because we did see Baeza go down via strikes, but it took a lot from Chaos Williams to put him away. And I believe Fiallo's got a pretty good background in wrestling as well, so it's an interesting matchup. There's kind of some paths to victory for both guys, but
of course
I trust Baeza's experience in the UFC a little more. I trust his talent a little bit more.
Right.
It's a tough draw for Fiallo too. Yes, 0-2 in the UFC, but you're fighting those 2 guys. Not even giving him much of a chance here.
I know.
And lastly, deep on the prelims, Huggy Bear is back. Chris Barnett, but they're having him fight at the Apex. Come on, guys.
I know.
He's welcome. Maybe this is why he's welcoming. Is it an undefeated prospect?
9-1, I believe.
9-1,
Yeah.
Okay. Making his debut for the company, Martin Boudet. Is it bidet, like the shit that sprays
Squirts water up your
outer-
bunghole.
Yeah. Is it Boudet? Booty?
Booty.
Sorry, we're not. I'm very sorry, Mister.
This guy's really fucking good, though.
Yeah, I'm very sorry, Mr. Budai or Boudet.
I'd say Boudet, Martin Boudet, until proven otherwise on the broadcast Saturday.
Yeah, so very apologies for making fun of your name, but Martin Boudet, who's making his debut, he's a pretty heavy favorite here, Dominic. And
Yeah.
we've seen Chris Barnett do a lot of fun stuff in the octagon. He's 1-1 though. He lost his debut to Ben Rothwell, maybe.
Yeah, went the distance. Relatively lackluster.
No, Rothwell finished him.
What, did he?
In his debut, he got finished.
Okay.
But then he came back against.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Jean
But
Vellante.
I never can remember these names when we're going like this. But yeah, he threw that crazy spinning wheel kick.
Fucking wheel kick, yeah.
It was awesome stuff. And then Chris Barnett, he had his moment there at MSG, and the few days after, people were really loving him. But here he is, kind of back down to earth on the prelim, an underdog. Can he get the upset?
First off, the UFC loves putting heavyweight fights on a main card, but you're not going to do this one for the fight nights, like,
especially in the co-main spot. They love
Yeah.
Jared Van Dura. Come on in.
Yeah.
All these guys that are like these middling heavyweights.
yeah. But whatever. I'll always question the way that they order the cards, especially the fight night ones. But this could be fun. I am a bit worried for Huggy Bear Barnett. He's such a fun guy to watch. What a personality. He's been fighting a long time, 22-7, been through the ringer. But Boudet, man, 9-1, a legit threat. He's finished 8 of his 9 fights. He won on the Contender Series with a submission. So a legit threat here. The odds will tell you that as well. I'm looking forward to, though. I think it's going to be pretty decisive. Whoever gets the victory, I'll put it that way. I think someone's going down.
Yeah, the odds for this fight to not go to distance are like minus 650.
Damn. There you go.
So very much these two, you're looking for a finish here.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Weekend Preview. Let us know what fights you're most excited for on the weekend. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you're excited about? There's a pretty big boxing fight this weekend. I believe Errol Spence and your Dennis Ugas. So that could be fun. But I feel like you don't know who either of those two are.
Nope.
But I appreciate you nodding away anyways.
Of course.
But let us know all that. We will see you guys. Make sure to check back tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll be here. If you're listening on Spotify, go to the YouTube channel. We will have a betting preview for the UFC card this weekend. But Dominic, that's it. We're out. We'll see you guys on Monday.